If you were to search on Google the best PS2 games of all time, then you will notice that Shadow of the Colossus is usually ranked in the top 3 of these lists. Reviewers at the time scoring it an 8 or 9 out of 10 and stating, "You'll find an experience in Shadow of the Colossus that's unlike any other." How did I miss out on playing such a legendary game? Well, 2005 saw other releases such as God of War, Resident Evil 4, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which is one of my favourite games of all time. I was far too busy hiring hookers and working out at virtual gyms to pay any attention to other game releases that year. A 14-year-old rotting his brain away playing a Grand Theft Auto game, while other gamers were expanding their minds playing a piece of art like Shadow of the Colossus. Due to its popularity, it has since been remastered for the PlayStation 3 and completely remade for the PS4. The remake by Bluepoint Games showing everyone in the industry how remakes and remasters are meant to be done. I am looking at you, Grove Street Games. What the hell were you thinking with a piece of garbage like this? Fumito Ueda also didn't take advantage of the popularity of Shadow of Colossus by ruining it with sequels, such as Shadow of the Colossus 2, Revenge of the Colossi, or Shadow of the Colossus 3, Batman Strikes Back. I was tempted to buy and play the original PlayStation 2 release for the purposes of this video. But after hearing how positive the Shadow of the Colossus community look upon the remake, I decided to play that instead. With these older games, nostalgia can really kick in and blind us, making us think that the game is better than it really was. I had that experience with Monopoly. I loved that game as a kid, but as an adult, I absolutely hate it.
5, 6.
I had attempted to play this game back in 2020, literally one day before the very first lockdown in Australia. At the time, my mind was a little preoccupied with the potential world-ending virus that was taking over, and after just beating the first Colossus, I stopped playing. I always knew that I would one day revisit this game, and here we are 5 years later. Let's get into it. And if you haven't played Shadow of the Colossus before, there's gonna be spoilers, obviously, so if you want to skip the spoilers, head to this time mark in the video. I'll probably remember to put it in, hopefully. One of the reasons I love the original Dark Souls game is because you get an overwhelming feeling of loneliness, curiosity, and even fear all at the same time. And Shadow of the Colossus gave me the exact same feeling. Our adventure starts with us crossing a magnificent bridge and eventually reaching what appears to be some sort of temple on the other side. Slowly we descend the large staircase, dismount our horse and place a cold, lifeless body of an unnamed girl onto the podium. We then learn that we are trespassing on these lands and entrance is strictly forbidden. We also learn that if we wish it, we can bring back the souls of the dead. A mysterious voice, both male and female, introduces itself as Dorman, and explains that if we wish to save the maiden's life, we have to kill the colossi that roam these lands, but doing so will cost us greatly. And that's it. That's all we learn at this stage. We know we possess an ancient sword that can help us kill the colossi, but who are we? Who is this random girl? In modern gaming, we see these types of stories told more often. Stories that require us to think outside of the box to fill in the blank. Interpreting little bits of information to give us an idea of the overall story. But back in 2005, this method of storytelling was very rare, especially in video games. Information constantly being thrown at us in most games, but Shadow of the Colossus showing us that less can often be more. The character we play as is named Wanda, and as a player we know that our goal is to save this fair maiden. But why? Is she our girlfriend or sister? Does she even know our name and who we are? Well, none of that even matters. What matters is finding and killing all 16 of the Colossi before the girl's body starts to decay. So we set out with our trusty steed Aggro and slay one Colossus after another, each time absorbing black spaghetti noodle type things. Little do we know is that each time we kill a Colossus, we are essentially freeing Dorman, whose soul was split and sealed in each of the 16 Colossi. We scratch their back by freeing their essence, and they will scratch ours by reviving Mono. Now this is actually a bit of a bonus fact for you, but Voldemort was a big fan of Shadow of the Colossus growing up, and that's where he got the idea of sealing his essence into the Horcruxes. At the time, games like God of War really celebrated killing giant creatures. Hell yeah, we are a badass warrior destroying everything in our path. But after killing the first few Colossi, I started to feel bad. Wait a second, are we the good guy? Why do I feel so awful each time I kill one of these creatures? At first glances, they seem like soulless monsters, but when they inevitably fall to their death, a wave of guilt would wash over me. What did this Colossus ever do to anyone? I came into its lair and started to climb it. Of course it's gonna swat and try to get me off like I do when there's a spider on me. Ah! About halfway through the game, we learn that there is a group of people that end up following us into the Forbidden Lands. They arrive just as we killed the 16th Colossus, and at that point, Dorman fully takes over us, and we turn into a giant evil-looking monster. But that's just it. Dorman looks like a devilish being, but we never learn if Dorman is evil or not. Maybe they were sealed away unfairly. After all, Dorman has the ability to revive people. Surely that's not a bad trait to have. Aha! Got you again. We don't even know if Dorman is the one that in fact revives Mono. Everything is speculated, and fans of the game came up with their own interpretation of what happens and what is what, but to put it simply, if you just take this video game at face value, you are never fully told what happens and what it all means. The story is quiet. It's not in your face telling you exactly what is happening. For many, it was the first of its kind to instill emotion into the experience and make you question if your actions were justified or not. After all, we have entered the Forbidden Lands. Who are we to take the lives of these amazing creatures? There are countless forum threads, videos, and posts about what people assume the story is about or what truly unfolds. And that is a part of the reason Shadow of the Colossus to this day is held in such high regard. I was not prepared to be playing such a deep thinking game so early on in the year. I just finished Undertale and I barely understood what was going on there. I need to start playing more simple games like Pac-Man. If you have any ideas what the story is about, let me know in the comments and I'll pin the best comment. I'm interested to read what you guys think. Now, with every story that is as complex as Shadow of the Colossus, there will be a large portion of the players where the point of the game completely goes unnoticed. I fit into that category normally, but after finishing my first playthrough, I immediately started to watch other video essays on this game. Not everyone will have that experience, but even if you miss the point, I think there is still a lot of enjoyment to be had in this title. If you put aside the story and complex emotions of the game, Shadow of the Colossus is a simple monster-slaying game. Each of the 16 Colossi are unique and have a different strategy to overcome them. What they all have in common are weak spots that need to be stabbed in order for you to damage them. I want you to close your eyes and imagine for a second that You're very small, and I'm the Colossus you are fighting. My testicles are my weak spot, and it's your job to climb up my leg and stab me in the balls. Some weak spots are on the head or hidden under armor, but the best way to approach each boss differs from the last. Colossus 3, for example, has a weak spot on his head and stomach. In order to reach them, you need to climb up his arm, but his arm is covered by armor. In order to bypass this, you need to get the Colossus to hit his weapon on a large piece of metal on the floor, breaking his armor, which allows you to climb up freely. There are ways around this, and the more experience you get with this game, the easier it becomes. There are colossi that fly, some that swim, others are small, fast, and fully armored. Each fight is its own large puzzle for you to solve. Some are easier than others, but all are equally satisfying to overcome. The first few fights are more simple, but the more you progress, the more you will have to rely on your surroundings in order to win. Some bosses can only be beaten by using the environment, such as Colossus 8 and 14. Colossus 8 will fall onto his back, revealing his weak spot, but only after falling from a great height. Colossus 14 will charge at the pillars you are standing on until one falls on top of it, revealing its weak spot. I don't have any gameplay footage of Colossus number 5, but I've made a recreating for you. I hope you enjoy. The game shines the most when holding onto the fur of a Colossus that is soaring high in the sky, or when finally figuring out how to expose the weak point. The adrenaline you feel when climbing or running up to it before they can cover up again is almost unmatched. For its time, Shadow of the Colossus was way ahead of the game. Programming each Colossus to behave in a certain way without constantly glitching out is an incredible feat. I know I played through the remake, but I watched footage of the speedrunners playing the original game, and most of it, if not all of the exploits they used, were more physics-based exploits instead of glitches like you see in games like Ocarina of Time. There are some gameplay mechanics that might put off some players. The controls themselves feel very restricted and awkward at times. The horse riding is shockingly bad. At the start, it gets much better once you are used to it, but I guarantee you many people have stopped playing shortly after this first climbing section. I was actually not a fan of the climbing at all in the beginning, but by the end of the game, I was begging for more platforming. The thing I hate most about this game is how long it takes for us to stand up after getting knocked down. Wanda can get knocked off a huge tower and be fine, but get knocked over and it's a 5-second animation to stand up. There are even some colossi that will knock you down over and over again, and it's so frustrating and not fun in the slightest. One of the more unique features of the game is the grip meter you possess. It represents how long Wanda can hold on for before his strength gives out. Now once again close your eyes and imagine you're small climbing up my leg to stab me in my scrotum. Your hands would get tired and you'd probably end up letting go before that happened. This is a genius gameplay mechanic, and it's not one I'm sure had ever been done before. Please let me know in the comments below if it had been. It really makes every fight way more intense. There is nothing more nerve-wracking than climbing a Colossus only to run out of grip and have to start the ascent all over again. Holding on for dear life while a Colossus does a barrel roll, hoping you have enough grip strength left to climb to the weak spot to deliver the final death blow. It's epic! It's amazing! But it's only really an experience you get to live once. I knew straight away that Shadow of the Colossus would be a speedrunner's wet dream, because if you watch any of them, the grip strength becomes a feature that is pointless. And honestly, as a casual player, even my second playthrough on hard mode was fairly easy. But like I said before, in 2005 I was playing GTA San Andreas, and I would have played that game over and over and over again, and I'm sure players of Shadow of the Colossus did the same thing. Aside from the story, where the value of the game comes into play is beating each Colossus faster each time you play. After 5 or 6 playthroughs, your grip strength and health becomes so large that it's not even a factor of the gameplay anymore. Now again, imagine you're small, and you want to stab me in my scrot, but there's an elevator that takes you all the way from my foot up to my scrot. Now, it's still fun that you get to stab me, and satisfying that you can do it so easily and fast, but how many times can you do that before it starts to get a little boring? In the modern day, this type of game would probably be looked down upon if it were released today. Really, if you want to experience Shadow of the Colossus, it's only a 5 or 6 hour game. Yet hordes of gamers will call it the best game of all time. It's obvious what a huge impact this game had and continues to have on the gaming industry, and for those reasons alone, this game is not overrated. It's another epic title that I am proud that I have played. The story is flawless, it's deep, strange, incredibly unique, and it was way ahead of its time. The world, the exploration and finding each Colossus is a video game in itself. Add the satisfying dynamic of learning how to defeat each boss, and you have yourself a very solid experience. Alright, thank you very much for watching. The next video I'm thinking about doing is Zelda Majora's Mask, potentially. I've got a few in the pipeline, so make sure you stick around. Thanks for watching. Until next time, see ya.